October 2024. You're a Russian air defense operator staring at your radar screen in disbelief. Dozens of small contacts are approaching from the west. They're flying low, barely 50 feet off the ground. They're moving slowly, like civilian aircraft. But there are too many of them, and they're heading straight for your most critical military installations. You try to lock onto them with your S-400 missile system, the most advanced air defense in the Russian arsenal. But these targets are too small, too low, too cheap for your million-dollar missiles to track effectively. By the time you realize what's happening, it's too late. The age of drone warfare has arrived, and everything you thought you knew about modern combat is about to change forever. But here's what most people don't understand about this new kind of warfare. It's not just changing how battles are fought, it's completely rewriting the economics of military power. And one country has figured out how to turn $500 commercial drones into weapons that can destroy $50 million aircraft. Today, I'm going to show you how drone technology has created a military revolution that's making traditional air defenses obsolete, and why this changes everything about modern warfare. To understand the drone revolution that's happening right now, you need to understand how dramatically warfare has changed in just the past few years. For decades, military power was measured in expensive platforms. Fighter jets costing $100 million each, tanks worth $10 million, warships valued at billions. The assumption was that superior technology and massive defense budgets would always win. But drone technology has turned that assumption upside down. A commercial quadcopter that costs $500 can now carry explosives and destroy equipment worth millions. A modified civilian drone can penetrate air defenses that were designed to stop sophisticated military aircraft. And when you deploy thousands of these drones simultaneously, even the most advanced military finds itself overwhelmed. This isn't theoretical anymore. We're seeing it happen in real time. Modern conflicts have become testing grounds for drone tactics that are revolutionizing military strategy. Small, cheap, expendable drones are achieving what traditional military forces struggled to accomplish with vastly more expensive equipment. The psychological impact is just as important as the physical damage. When a $50 million fighter jet can be destroyed by a drone that costs less than a used car, it forces military planners to completely rethink their strategies. When critical infrastructure can be hit by swarms of small drones that are nearly impossible to stop, it changes the entire calculation of military defense. But here's where it gets really interesting. The countries that are winning this new kind of warfare aren't necessarily the ones with the biggest defense budgets. They're the ones that have figured out how to adapt commercial technology for military purposes most effectively. The evolution of drone warfare has been remarkably rapid. Just 5 years ago, military drones were expensive, sophisticated platforms operated by highly trained specialists. The Predator drones used by the US military cost millions of dollars each and required extensive support infrastructure. They were powerful, but they were also limited in number and vulnerable to sophisticated air defenses. Today's drone warfare looks completely different. Commercial drone technology has advanced so rapidly that off-the-shelf equipment can now perform missions that once required military-grade systems. A farmer's crop-dusting drone can be modified to carry explosives. A photographer's quadcopter can be equipped with cameras for reconnaissance. A racing drone can be turned into a high-speed attack platform. The democratization of this technology has been unprecedented. Components that once required military-grade manufacturing can now be purchased online for a few $100s. GPS navigation systems, high-resolution cameras, long-range communication equipment, all of this is available to anyone with an internet connection and a credit card. But the real breakthrough isn't in the individual components. It's in how they're being integrated and coordinated. Modern drone warfare relies on sophisticated software that can control hundreds or thousands of drones simultaneously. This software uses artificial intelligence to coordinate attacks, avoid obstacles, and adapt to changing battlefield conditions in real time. The key breakthrough has been in coordination and tactics. Individual drones are still relatively easy to stop, but when you coordinate hundreds or thousands of drones in coordinated swarms, they become nearly impossible to defend against. Traditional air defense systems are designed to engage a small number of high-value targets. They're not equipped to handle massive swarms of small, cheap drones attacking simultaneously. This creates what military analysts call an asymmetric advantage. The attacking force can use cheap, expendable drones to overwhelm expensive defensive systems. Even if 90% of the attacking drones are shot down, the remaining 10% can still cause devastating damage. And because the drones are so cheap to produce, the attacking force can afford to lose most of them and still achieve their objectives. The mathematics of this new warfare are brutal and simple. If you can produce 1,000 drones for the cost of one traditional missile, you can overwhelm any defense system. Even the most sophisticated air defense network can only engage a limited number of targets simultaneously. When faced with swarms of hundreds or thousands of small, fast-moving targets, these systems quickly become saturated and ineffective. The economic implications are staggering. When a $500 drone can destroy a $50 million aircraft, the traditional military-industrial model breaks down. Countries can no longer rely on having the most expensive equipment to guarantee military superiority. Instead, success goes to whoever can most effectively mass-produce and coordinate large numbers of cheap, expendable platforms. But the real revolution isn't just in the hardware, it's in the software and tactics. Modern drone swarms use artificial intelligence to coordinate their attacks. They can communicate with each other, adapt to changing battlefield conditions, and execute complex maneuvers without human control. This makes them incredibly difficult to jam or disrupt using traditional electronic warfare techniques. The artificial intelligence systems controlling these drone swarms are becoming increasingly sophisticated. They can identify and prioritize targets based on their military value. They can coordinate complex attack patterns that maximize damage while minimizing losses, and they can adapt their tactics in real time based on the defensive responses they encounter. The targeting capabilities have also evolved dramatically. Commercial satellite imagery, combined with AI-powered target recognition, allows drone operators to identify and strike specific targets with remarkable precision. A drone swarm can be programmed to seek out particular types of vehicles, buildings, or equipment, making them incredibly effective against high-value military targets. What we're seeing now is the emergence of what military experts call distributed warfare. Instead of concentrating expensive assets in a few heavily defended locations, military forces are being forced to spread out and hide their equipment. But this makes them less effective and harder to coordinate. The side that masters drone swarm tactics gains a significant advantage in this new environment. The speed of adaptation has been remarkable. Military forces that were caught off guard by early drone attacks have had to completely restructure their defensive strategies. New air defense systems specifically designed to counter drone swarms are being developed and deployed. Electronic warfare capabilities are being enhanced to jam drone communications and navigation systems. But this creates an ongoing technological arms race. As defenses improve, drone tactics evolve to counter them. Drones are becoming more autonomous, reducing their reliance on communications that can be jammed. They're being equipped with better sensors and navigation systems that make them harder to fool or redirect. And they're being produced in ever larger numbers, making it impossible for defensive systems to stop them all. The psychological warfare aspect cannot be ignored. When critical infrastructure, power plants, fuel depots, military bases can be hit by drone attacks that seem to come from nowhere, It creates a sense of vulnerability that traditional military forces never experienced. The knowledge that a small, cheap drone could appear at any moment and cause massive damage changes how military personnel think about their security. This psychological impact extends beyond the military. When civilian infrastructure becomes a target for drone attacks, it affects entire populations. The traditional distinction between the front lines and the home front becomes meaningless when drones can strike anywhere within their range. The intelligence and reconnaissance capabilities of modern drone swarms are equally revolutionary. Thousands of small drones equipped with cameras and sensors can provide real-time intelligence coverage of vast areas. They can track enemy movements, identify targets, and coordinate attacks with a level of detail and responsiveness that was impossible with traditional reconnaissance methods. This creates what military analysts call persistent surveillance. Instead of occasional reconnaissance flights or satellite passes, drone swarms can maintain constant watch over enemy territory. They can detect changes in enemy positions, identify new targets as they appear, and immediately coordinate attacks against them. The logistics of drone warfare are also fundamentally different from traditional military operations. Drones can be produced quickly and cheaply using commercial manufacturing techniques. They don't require the extensive supply chains and maintenance infrastructure that traditional military equipment needs. This makes drone-based military forces much more resilient and adaptable than conventional forces. But perhaps most importantly, drone warfare has democratized military power in ways that are still being understood. Countries with relatively small defense budgets can now pose serious threats to much larger military powers, simply by mastering drone technology and tactics. This is reshaping global military balance in ways that traditional military planners are still struggling to comprehend. The countermeasures being developed are equally fascinating. New air defense systems use rapid-fire weapons and advanced radar to engage multiple small targets simultaneously. Electronic warfare systems are being designed to jam drone communications and navigation. Some military forces are even developing their own defensive drone swarms to intercept attacking drones. But every defensive innovation spawns new offensive tactics. Drones are becoming more autonomous, reducing their vulnerability to jamming. They're being equipped with better armor and defensive systems, and they're being deployed in even larger numbers, making it impossible for any defensive system to stop them all. The result is a fundamental shift in how modern warfare is conducted. The side that can most effectively produce, deploy, and coordinate large numbers of cheap, expendable drones gains a significant advantage. Traditional measures of military power, the number of tanks, aircraft, or ships, become less relevant than the ability to mass-produce and coordinate drone swarms. This revolution is happening right now. In real time, military forces around the world are scrambling to adapt to this new reality. Defense contractors are rushing to develop new systems and tactics. Military academies are rewriting their textbooks to account for drone warfare principles. The economic implications extend far beyond military spending. The defense industry is being forced to completely rethink its business model. Instead of producing small numbers of extremely expensive platforms, the focus is shifting to mass production of cheap, expendable systems. This requires different manufacturing techniques, different supply chains, and different approaches to research and development. The geopolitical implications are equally significant. Countries that master drone technology and tactics can project military power far beyond what their traditional military capabilities would suggest. This is creating new regional power dynamics and forcing established military powers to reconsider their strategic assumptions. But the most profound change may be in the nature of military conflict itself. When warfare becomes dominated by swarms of cheap, expendable drones, the traditional concepts of military victory and defeat become more complex. A country can lose most of its expensive military equipment and still continue fighting effectively using drone swarms. This makes conflicts potentially longer and more difficult to resolve decisively. The human element in warfare is also changing. Drone operators can be located thousands of miles from the battlefield, operating multiple drones simultaneously from secure locations. This reduces the risk to human personnel, but also changes the psychological and ethical dimensions of combat. When warfare becomes increasingly automated and remote, it raises new questions about accountability and the rules of engagement. The speed of this transformation has caught many military establishments off guard. Institutions that spent decades perfecting traditional military tactics are being forced to completely reimagine their approaches to warfare. This creates opportunities for more agile and adaptive military forces, while potentially disadvantaging those that are too invested in traditional military platforms and tactics. Looking ahead, the drone revolution is likely to accelerate rather than slow down. Artificial intelligence capabilities are improving rapidly, making drones more autonomous and effective. Manufacturing costs are continuing to fall, making it possible to produce even larger numbers of drones. And new tactical innovations are constantly being developed and tested in real-world conflicts. The ultimate impact of this revolution may be to make traditional military power less relevant than the ability to innovate and adapt quickly. In a world where $500 drones can destroy $50 million aircraft, success goes not to the country with the biggest defense budget, but to the one that can most effectively harness new technology for military purposes. This represents a fundamental shift in the nature of military power itself. For the first time in modern history, small countries with limited resources can pose serious threats to major military powers, simply by mastering the tactics and technology of drone warfare. This is reshaping global military balance in ways that are still being understood. The drone apocalypse isn't coming. It's already here. And the countries that figure out how to master this new form of warfare will have a decisive advantage in the conflicts of the future. The question isn't whether drone swarms will dominate future battlefields. It's whether traditional military forces can adapt quickly enough to remain relevant in this new era of warfare. The revolution in military affairs that we're witnessing today may be as significant as the introduction of gunpowder, aircraft, or nuclear weapons. And like those previous revolutions, it's forcing military planners around the world to completely rethink their assumptions about how wars are fought and won. If you found this analysis as eye-opening as I did, make sure to subscribe to the channel and check out the videos on your screen right now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.